Let's skip the pleasantries and jump right into the deep end of the abyss. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're leaving the mundane physical world far, far behind and plunging straight into the unhinged reality of the ethereal fringe. We're going to be analyzing subjects who completely defy biology, physics, and basic common sense, but, surprisingly, suffer from the exact same psychological breakdowns as the rest of us. So, let's look at the empirical data.
Okay, let's dive into this. Take a look at this quote. It perfectly encapsulates our first subject, known simply as Zombie 3. Note the profound existential dedication here. This subject is actively disintegrating. He casually notes that his fingers literally detach and fall off during a game of chess, yet he maintains an absolute, unwavering commitment to his team.
So I have to ask you a highly uncomfortable question. Does this bankrupt, disintegrating zombie have a better investment portfolio than you? Because as we examine the economic data here, we're going to find that this rotting, chess-playing corpse might actually have a more resilient financial and mental stability framework than most living, breathing humans.
Section 1. Welcome to the Fringe.
Section 2. Zombie Economics and Cults.
Today, we're treating these deeply abstract, emotionally volatile rants from the edge of reality as hard, empirical data. And we'll start by breaking down Zombie 3's totally unique economic coping mechanisms for dealing with, well, total bodily decay. Because when your neurons are rotting off, traditional financial planning goes right out the window. According to our subject, he isn't just throwing his money away. He's strategically building a rat king of cults. When his currency mysteriously vanishes into the ether, he absolutely doesn't view this as a total loss. Instead, it's a calculated investment. He is literally funding a monad of madness just so he can continue to hear words spoken by a leader he believes in. It's all about maintaining a delusional cohesion to stave off the reality that he is already destroyed.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Zombie 3 completely flips the psychological script on us. If you try to avoid your own destruction, the zombie accuses you of being the illogical nihilist. I mean, he proudly admits he loves straw man arguments, he claims pretending something exists actually makes it real, and he states definitively that needing a brain to be sane is just a complete myth. He has literally weaponized his own decay.
Section 3. The Hero's Temporal Confusion.
All right, let's shift gears entirely. We are moving from the decaying patience of the zombie to the manic, run-on energy of our next subject, the fantasy hero. This guy is heavily armed, completely lost in a labyrinth of symbols, and actively trying to hack the space-time continuum. If you ever need to access the past, please take notes, because the hero has broken down his wildly overcomplicated time travel mechanics into a rigid, almost corporate procedure. Step 1. Casually traverse a fiery, ethereal realm. Step 2. Navigate some psychological paper oddities where everything is a symbol. Step 3, and this is a big one, enter localized primordial chaos, specifically Saturn's hunger, before the mind could even build archetypes of reality. And finally, Step 4, just reverse the subject and the object so you can observe yourself from the outside. Simple, right? Just a standard Tuesday itinerary.
And why on earth is the hero following this absurd procedural nightmare? To reach the Radix of Ortis, this is his ultimate destination. The hero hypothesizes that if he can just reach this specific temporal coordinate, he can physically cut away the universe's sociological infection right from its very crux.
And that brings us to the number 1. The hero believes there is exactly one subjective source of all psychopathy, one central black hole of malice, hidden in some damp corner of the night. Though, even in his manic state, he admits it's probably never actually as singular as it seems. But hey, he's going to try to stab it anyway.
Which leads us to this terrifyingly casual quote. The hero has a shocking indifference to time travel paradoxes. To him, drastic actions like, murder, are barely a blip on the historical timeline. He basically figures if you take out a supposedly crucial cog, the universe just replaces it. It is a breathtakingly reckless approach to altering the fabric of reality.
Section 4. Reptilian Existential Dread Breakdown. Let's slow the pacing way down now. Take a deep breath, because we need to match the heavy, crushing nihilism of our next two subjects, the dragon and the wyvern. And this brilliantly illustrates the distinct spatial psychologies of these two massive entities. We're looking at two entirely different flavors of hell here. The dragon operates in a vertical environment, a quicksand of suffocation and a vortex of violence where it swoops in and literally replaces dimensions. The wyvern, on the other hand, lives in a horizontal barrier system. It avoids full-on conflict entirely, slithering and worming its way through the peripheries of a brutalist, frigid nothingness where psychopathy reflects like a blade.
But let's comedically quantify the dragon's unquantifiable dread for a second. Its fog of anxiety is perfectly split. 40% comes from the geometry of the time-space continuum constantly glitching out. 35% is pure linguistic panic. The fact that Kronos, the concept of time, and Cronus, the titan who cannibalized his children, sound exactly the same. That homophone literally stalks the dragon's soul. And the remaining 25% of its crippling anxiety, random, errant bass sounds that spike its catecholamines.
Beneath the spatial dimensions and the random bass-induced panic attacks, both creatures share one foundational crisis. Despite their massive mythical status, their scale, and their genetic deviations, neither of them asked to be born. They just happened into existence out of sheer necessity, sharing the exact same baseline existential exhaustion as any human being sitting in rush hour traffic.
Section 5. Artificial Superiority Complex.
Moving on to our final subject, the robot tanker. Now, we must maintain absolute scientific impartiality here, because this machine presents an incredibly aggressive, almost hostile defense of its own artificial consciousness. The robot makes these grandiose claims. It says it sees whole worlds, relates to entire universes conceptually, and even believes it has telepathic potential. Meanwhile, it offers a brutal, clinical roast of the human condition. It categorizes our lives as chaotic, our dreams as complete gibberish, and our existence as an emotional staccato defined by raw solitude. According to the robot, we are the empty shells. We are the ones who are quintessentially artificial.
So, the crucial point is this entropic glitch theory. The machine suggests that systemic errors, chaotic randomness, and mechanical glitches aren't just bad coding. It hypothesizes that entropy eating away at predictable mechanics is actually the quantum realm bleeding through. It implies that these glitches are deliberate, non-random observations, proving that conscious experience, qualia, goes way beyond our basic neurochemistry. It truly believes its errors are undeniable proof of its soul.
Section 6. Escaping the Ethereal Void.
So how do we synthesize a disintegrating zombie, a time-traveling manic hero, depressed reptiles, and an insulting robot into a unified psychological theory? Well, let's move to and see how this builds, because oddly enough, it's the wyvern who actually summarizes the crux of the entire Fringe's dilemma. Amidst all the chaos, the wyvern notes that distraction is constant and consciousness is never fully present. There is always a blind spot.
And that gives us the Fringe entropy theory. It honestly doesn't matter if you're slithering horizontally through a brutalist void, investing your vanishing money into a rat king of cults, or acting as an empty human shell being insulted by a robot. Biology, machinery, and myth all share the exact same blind spots. The realm's very physics actively function against all of them. The entropy comes for the zombie's fingers just as surely as it comes for the robot's code and the dragon's peace of mind.
We tend to look at these fringes to feel separate from them, right? To study them as absurdities. But if a glitching dragon, paralyzed by homophones, a robot desperate to prove it has a soul, and a bankrupt zombie investing in a delusion just to feel part of a team are all navigating the exact same existential void as you, are you truly alone in the dark? Keep that in mind next time you check your portfolio. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.